But it's now time for today's business news, and I'm joined in studio by Stephen Carroll. Stephen, we're going to start, I believe, in China, where the Beijing car show is opening its doors to the public.
Yeah, and it's a really big issue because China is the world's biggest car market, and those car makers all around the world are very keen to cash in on that market. Last year, almost 22 million cars were sold in China, a figure that grew by nearly 14%, and the market is again expected to grow by up to another 10% this year. So all of the big players are in Beijing hoping to cash in on that lucrative market. Let's take a look at how those foreign car constructors, their figures break down for last year. Volkswagen, you see, came out on top with almost 3.3 million cars sold, followed by America's General Motors. But lagging far behind them is the French car maker PSA, Peugeot, Citroën. They'll be looking, though, to expand in China, particularly after they were able to secure an €800 million investment from the Chinese car maker Dongfeng. To do so, they're going to revive some classic brands, as our correspondents Baptiste Falevaz and Paul James now report from Beijing.
In the 1960s, it was a popular choice for the affluent in France. Today, the DS is looking for a resurgence in China. PSA has chosen Beijing to unveil its latest SUV. With its spacious design and chrome plating, the vehicle is certain to appeal to the Chinese consumer.
This vehicle is commercially a priority for the Chinese market. It's a very important market for our growth and our profitability. That's the reason why we're unveiling this concept here in China.
PSA wants the Middle Kingdom to be its primary market in 2015. However, PSA only has 4% of the market share so far, despite a steady increase in sales. PSA has a fourth factory on the drawing board and is trying to innovate through its design center in Shanghai. Nearly 1,000 people work here. To design a vehicle that will cater to Chinese tastes, 3 keys have to be kept in mind.
Firstly, Chinese people want an elegant car, a comfortable car, and a spacious car. This is a vehicle that is family-friendly. People don't drive much by themselves here.
In a few months, PSA will begin sharing this center with China's Dongfeng, which just became a capital partner with the French firm. Even though PSA is revealing some of its intellectual property rights to Dongfeng, in the end, it seems worth it.
It's normal for us to give our technology to our partner, but we're paid royalties in exchange, and that helps us to recover. So it's a win-win situation, and it will allow us to speed up our growth here in the market.
To set itself apart in China, PSA has to first convince Chinese drivers of its quality, as French vehicles are still viewed here in China as mid-range, family-oriented, and a step behind their American or German counterparts.
Now we're going to Japan next, where key trade figures have shown another challenge for the world's third largest economy. The value of the country's imports over its exports nearly quadrupled over the last financial year, which ended in March. The country's been exporting more goods as the value of its currency falls, up over 10%, as you can see there. But imports have shot up by even more, leaving the trade deficit at over 1.4 trillion yen, or around $14 billion for the year. This is largely down to the cost of energy imports, particularly in the wake of the Fukushima nuclear disaster. That's what's pushing the cost of those imports up. It's another challenge, though, facing the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe as he tries to revive the economy there.
And is that then having a large impact on the markets?
Not actually as much as you might think. The Nikkei in Japan is actually trading in positive territory today, so investors obviously not too concerned by that news. On the trade deficit, a fairly flat day across the rest of the Asian markets. It's pretty quiet out there today because the European markets will be closed because of the Easter Monday holiday, and investors said to be quite concerned still over the tensions in Ukraine.
OK, then take us through some of the day's companies' news, starting with a possible deal in the pharmaceutical sector.
Yeah, that's right. The American giant Pfizer is said to be considering offering more than $100 billion to buy the British drug manufacturer AstraZeneca. The Sunday Times newspaper says Pfizer has made a preliminary takeover bid for the firm. AstraZeneca is the UK's second largest pharmaceutical company, is valued at some $80 billion. The Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera is said to give away 20 million free copies on a single day ahead of the European elections in May. The stunt will celebrate Italy's economic recovery with a special edition as the paper seeks new print and online subscriptions. Corriere della Sera is considered Italy's newspaper of record, but it's been hit by falling advertising revenues in recent years, and its parent company narrowly avoided bankruptcy last year. And sales of Sony's PlayStation 4 have topped 7 million, outstripping its main rival, the Xbox One. Microsoft doesn't release sales figures, but says it's shipped 5 million of the new Xbox to retailers. The two new consoles went on sale late November, launching a battle between the industry rivals to win over gamers.
And finally, Stephen, the crisis in the Ukraine has been affecting business, notably in the region, but it hasn't stopped one American brand setting up in Moscow.
Yeah, point of contrast with McDonald's, which of course closed its outlets in Crimea after things heated up there, and that led to the Deputy Speaker of the Russian Parliament, in fact, suggesting that McDonald's should shut down its outlets in Russia as well. But now the American restaurant chain Hooters is set to open in Moscow next week. It's the brainchild of the Russian-born NBA player Andrei Kirilenko, who plays for the Brooklyn Nets. He doesn't seem very bothered about bringing this very American concept, very American brand to Russia. He told Bloomberg, what does politics have to do with a sports bar? So there's opportunity in everything.
Or money, as long as there's money there. Stephen Carroll there with the business news. Thanks very much. Well, it's now time for Web News.